ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Startup Central right here on ET Now with me, Sumita Karir. On today's show, we sharpen the spotlight on AI. We will be speaking with Microsoft India on deployment of AI agents. In fact, we'll also be looking at how AI is disrupting the movie-making business. Is AI the new director's assistant? That is something that we'll be exploring. And of course, the third discussion that we're going to have on the show is on Coralogics. It's an observability and AI monitoring platform. It has raised $200 million in a Series F round. So lots to cover on the show today. Let's begin then with Microsoft first. Now, Microsoft India has announced one of the largest enterprise AI rollouts at Infosys, TCS, and Wipro of Microsoft 365 Copilot. In fact, each of these companies have individually scaled Microsoft 365 Copilot to 100,000 plus employees each. And that takes combined license commitments past 300,000 seats in under 6 months. Now, the milestone is set to mark one of the largest and fastest rollouts of Microsoft globally. The message, hence, is clear. India's technology leaders are moving beyond AI experimentation into large-scale adoption. But the question is, what does the future of the AI-powered workplace looks like? Well, I caught up with Puneet Chandok. He's the president of India and South Asia at the company to talk about this and more. Let's take a look.
Copilot is now the connective layer for 300,000 plus engineers and associates across Infosys, TCS, and Wipro. It's almost getting embedded into how India's IT services industry delivers to the world. Each of them are 100,000 plus Copilots. They had 50,000 Copilots 6 months ago, so they've seen the impact and value, and they've doubled up. This is one of the largest and fastest enterprise AI rollouts for Microsoft globally, and it's also the strongest real-world proof of enterprise AI at scale now. And we've moved from experimentation to real scale, sustained usage, and deep integration. So, for example, at Wipro, there are 29,000 end-user developed agents, 91% monthly active usage Infosys, 86% daily AI usage at TCS. So it just, like, for me, it's a signal that enterprise AI has arrived at scale in India, and India is truly setting the pace for Asia amongst the fastest moving markets for us globally. And it's not just these three companies in IT, it's across public sector, digital natives, banking, Adani Group, Kotak Bank, Pine Labs, ONGC, Bharat Petroleum, Aditya Birla Group, ITC. There are many large corporations in India, Maruti Suzuki, that are making Copilot the UI for AI and making it the connective tissue for agentic AI transformation across these companies.
That's right. So you mentioned about IT companies. There are a bunch of other companies as well in the infra space, in the energy space. So what's really working? Let me ask that once again. What is it that's really working for these companies when it comes to deploying AI at scale? Because we talk about ROI on AI now. That's where the conversation has moved. But what does ROI look like beyond cost reduction for these companies?
I think the first point is AI for these companies is not a side project or a lab or a vision. It's how work gets done. It's how work gets measured. As you rightly said, the AI original thesis was around productivity and efficiency. I think in fact, the recent work trend index data that we looked at, that's busting that meme completely. AI is lifting individual potential across all of these companies. AI is expanding who can do high value add work. For example, the WTI report told us that 49% of usage on Copilots today is cognitive work, analysis, creativity, problem solving, right? So people are not just outsourcing thinking or driving productivity. They're using Copilots as a cognitive amplifier. The floor is being lowered and the ceiling is being raised simultaneously for people because they can now do high value add work. 58% of users tell us that they can do stuff now that they couldn't do a year ago, which is incredible, right? So this is the new agency equation, which is as you have more agentic AI in your business, you have more human agency, right? Just as agents and AI take on execution, the humans can do a lot more, right? So our agency expands. And I think that to me is a message of optimism, right? The opportunity for human potential at work across all our corporations has never been greater. And this is the message of optimism in a world which is increasingly anxious and pessimistic about AI, but it's lifting our potential. And on ROI, I think a couple of things. First, I think the real ROI for these companies is coming when they bring two things together. First is intelligence from these frontier models, which is contextualized to their corporations. And second is trust. And that's where Microsoft is playing a big role. We bring in the Microsoft IQ layer to bring the intelligence in the context of these companies, and the trust layer with Agent 365 to make sure that all the agents, all the agentic transformation is done in a compliant, secure, guardrailed way for all of these enterprises.
That's right. Since you're working with many companies, I'd like to ask you, how are Indian enterprises adopting AI differently than their Western counterparts?
So the Indian companies are far more, I think Indian companies experiment a lot more. Indian companies also don't have a lot of legacy in terms of a lot of tech debt and a lot of process debt. Of course, we have to reimagine and re-architect processes with AI, right? Which is deploying AI on a bad old process does not really help you. It just amplifies inefficiency. So of course, we have to reimagine processes. But I'm seeing Indian corporations take the plunge and take the leap of faith even faster and bolder than most companies. They're reimagining processes. They're equipping their employees with copilots, which allows them to do this bottom-up democratization of AI. They're leading with a top-down, bold ambition of AI transformation. They're reimagining work. They're also looking at infrastructure, so the right data to feed these AI engines. And then finally, it's a cultural renaissance, right? Which is making sure your people understand how important AI is, skilling them on at scale and at speed. And if you bring these four things together, bold vision, reimagining processes, forward compatible infrastructure in these companies being developed, and then the cultural renaissance, I think that's the secret sauce, if you will, for Indian companies to get ROI.
That's quite heartening to know. But Puneet, there's been a Mount Everest of AI hype, right, in the past 2-3 years. Where do you think we are at when it comes to the AI cycle?
I think we're still very early in the cycle, Samita, but it's stunning to see the pace of development, right? Like a couple of years ago, we were talking about prompt engineering, then reasoning came in, then agentic AI transformation. Now we're talking about agents that are autonomous, that can operate for an hour and a half on its own. So there is just stunning development happening. But I think, to me, I think the rate limiter is not technology or AI. The rate limiter is our organizations. Are they prepared for it? It's the talent getting ready for it. And that's the reason as Microsoft, we're skilling 20 million people in India by 2030. I think skilling is the oxygen mask for all of us. It's guerrilla warfare against irrelevance every day, right? So you have to learn every day, you have to skill every day. So I don't think the rate limiter is technology. We're still early, and it's stunning to see what's happening, but it's the organization, the talent, the learning, the skilling that needs to catch up to make sure we get the real value out of it.
And what about spends? Which sectors are leading that front?
Yeah, this is a revolution across sectors. Of course, IT services is leading the pack because it's core to what they do, right? So that's the reason Wipro, Infosys, TCS coming together and really scaling copilots. And it's not just the large companies, Persistent, Tavant, several other IT services companies are truly innovating and building with AI. And then, as I said, it's across sectors, right? So Kotak Bank and Adani Group and Maruti Suzuki and Pine Labs and Bharat Petroleum and ONGC. There's across pretty much every sector, you're seeing these frontier firms emerge who are using AI at scale and really focused on value and impact, right? Based on the 3 or 4 things that I just spoke about. So it's across sectors. I don't think there's one sector that is out there. IT services, of course, is leading, but pretty much every other sector is catching up as well.